Have you ever heard about a pilot so stubborn, so dead set on proving a point that he literally circled the entire planet in a flying boat just to make his government rethink its aviation strategy? Yeah, today we're talking about Wolfgang von Gronau, the noble-born German aviator who turned a Dornier Vol into the world's most dramatic "I told you so." I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. Act 1. The Reluctant Hero. Hans Wolfgang von Gronau was born in Berlin in 1893 into a family so aristocratic even their dinnerware probably outranked the neighbors. His father was an artillery general. Wolfgang was practically destined for a life involving uniforms, salutes, and polite mustaches. So of course, in 1911 he joined the Imperial German Navy, and when World War I broke out, he became a naval aviator, commanding flying boats, spotting artillery, shooting down enemy airships, and inventing improvements along the way. You know, the usual resume items for a man who would later claim he didn't even like flying. Because here's the twist. After the war, Wolfgang told everyone he was done with airplanes. Finished. Through. The man swore off flying like someone swears off gluten. Full conviction. Zero follow-through. Then, one airplane flew overhead. He looked up and suddenly decided he needed wings again. He hired a farm manager to take over his land and leapt straight back into aviation. It's relatable. We've all looked at a project and said, never again, then done it anyway 5 minutes later. Act 2. The Flying School on the Edge of the World. By 1926, Wolfgang was running the German commercial flying school on the island of Sylt, a remote windswept place in the North Sea, perfect for teaching pilots the art of flying, not just the mechanics. He believed flying required scientific precision, an artist's touch, and an appreciation for the 1,001 tiny details that kept your aircraft from becoming an expensive submarine. He had a dream: prove that the North Atlantic could be crossed safely, reliably, and commercially using flying boats that hop from port to port like giant metal puffins. No long, non-stop, death-defying leaps, just solid, dependable progress. Act 3. The Greenland Whale Takes Flight. In 1930, he made his move. He took off from Sylt in a Dornier Doge Vol flying boat, D-1422. This wasn't just any Vol. It was the same plane that Roald Amundsen nearly died in during a 1925 North Pole attempt. Imagine buying a used plane with a note saying, "Previous owner, famous explorer, history, almost killed him," and then you take it on a cross-Atlantic joyride. Not for me. Wolfgang followed his carefully planned out route: Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, then Labrador. Greenland delivered the first "you've got to be kidding me" moment. They had to scavenge leftover fuel from a Swedish rescue mission months earlier. Flight planning in the 1930s was basically a polite scavenger hunt. After 7,520 kilometers and 47 hours in the air, he landed on the Hudson River in New York City. The man was a hero. He won the Harmon Trophy. Germany applauded. Then, he did it again the next year. But Germany's government kept pouring money into gigantic airships, luxurious, stately, and, as history proved, not exactly the best long-term strategy. Wolfgang was furious. Imagine spending your life proving that flying boats worked, only for your government to say, "Yeah, neat. Anyway, look at this giant hydrogen balloon." So in 1932, Wolfgang decided, fine, if crossing the Atlantic twice won't get your attention, I'll just fly around the world. Act 4. The Spite Circle of the Planet. On July 21st, 1932, he took off again, this time in a newer flying boat, the Dornier Vol D-2053. He christened it the Greenland Vol, the Greenland Whale, 8 tons of riveted determination with extra fuel tanks built right into its gills, because when you're crossing oceans, every drop counts. Good to the last drop. Anybody remember that Maxwell House Coffee commercial? Yeah, I do. His crew: Gareth von Roth, co-pilot, Franzel Hack, mechanic, Fritz Albrecht, radio operator. A solid team of men who were probably very good at pretending they weren't terrified. They flew west into North America, stopping in Montreal, Chicago, Winnipeg, Then came the Pacific, a test of pure nerve. They hopscotched through the Aleutians, Dutch Harbor, Atka, Attu. These places were so isolated that even today your GPS would say, good luck. They reached Japan on September 4th, China on the 24th, Manila on the 29th, then India, the Middle East, and finally on November 23, 1932, they returned to Germany after 44,400 kilometers, or 27,000 miles, and 111 days of the most ambitious, spite-driven circumnavigation in aviation history. And yes, he won another Harmon Trophy for it. Way to go. Act 5. Fame, Politics, and Exile in Tokyo. His global fame vaulted him into political positions, Undersecretary in the Air Ministry, President of the German Aero Club, and eventually a Major General in the Luftwaffe. But he reportedly had an uneasy relationship with Nazi leadership. So, they did what authoritarian governments always do with inconvenient heroes. They sent him far away. Tokyo. Luftwaffe Air Attaché, a prestigious post, yes, but also quite exile. A way of saying, we like you, we just don't want you around. He stayed in Japan until the end of the war, likely advising on long-range aviation. After Germany's surrender, he was interned until 1947. Act 6. The Final Chapters. After the war, Wolfgang returned to Lufthansa as a technical advisor. Even though the age of the flying boat was ending, the airline still used long-range water-based routes built directly on his Atlantic concepts. He lived long enough to predict that passengers would one day fly at 1,000 miles an hour. Not a bad prophecy for a man who once crossed oceans at the speed of a determined lawnmower. He passed away in 1977 and was buried on Sylt, the same island where his dream of conquering the North Atlantic took shape. Wolfgang von Gronau didn't just fly around the world. He charted a path, step by step, wave by wave, that would become the blueprint for modern aviation. And he did it not with flashy airships or giant land planes, but with a flying boat so tough, so stubborn, and so beautifully engineered, it might as well have shared his personality. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.
Remember now.
I know. For security reasons, Mum's the word. New Mum cream deodorant now with M3. Got the message?